All right. So hello and welcome to one of our informational sessions to prepare for our Diversity Advocacy Day for 2021. We will be letting you know how the legislative meetings will unfold and how you can best prepare to be an effective advocate for this program. I would start out by saying normally we'd be preparing you to get up to Albany, walk the halls of the Capitol and, shake hands and things like that. Obviously, we will not be doing that this year. It will be entirely virtual, but it will be different, but I think it will also be very effective. And, I think our students always find this day to be exhilarating and very satisfying, and we hope that you get the same experience this year. So I thought we could start by introducing ourselves. I'm Jenny Tassler. I'm the Director of Policy and Programming at AMSNY. Bertil.
And hello, I'm Bertil Vidal. I'm the Director of Diversity at AMSNY.
Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Golostana, and I'm the Administrative Coordinator at ASNY.
And participants.
I'm Dania Contreras, and I'm Shirley Garrow, and we're doing the post-bac program at U Buffalo.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to all of you watching later at home. So first, we want to thank you all for agreeing to help with this effort. We know how busy you are, especially these days, and the idea of joining yet another Zoom call is daunting. However, we at AMSNY hear every year, all throughout the year, that this day in particular makes the most impact on the legislators. They really love to hear about how the program is really working and meet the people who are benefiting from it. That's what makes them want to go into a room and fight to fund these programs. So again, thank you. As I mentioned, many of you have also joined us in prior years, or you may have joined another group to do an advocacy day similar to this. There are often advocacy days in Washington or in Albany. I think there have been a perpetuation of some events with interest groups. So these meetings will go very similarly, except that instead of, fighting to get in an elevator at the Capitol and rushing to get from place to place and eating a granola bar in the hallway, we will be hopping in and out of Zoom rooms. So the logistics are different, but the goal is the same. We want to let the legislator know how important and successful and effective the diversity in medicine program is firsthand. So when we join a Zoom meeting, we will typically wait until the member or their staffer joins. These meetings are short. They're scheduled usually for half an hour, and that can go very quickly. So we may start before everybody joins. We wait for the member, but we may get started relatively quickly. So if you're running late, just join. Someone will let you in. And just stay on mute, that's fine. If we've already done introductions, we'll have, catch you on the next round when students start talking. Don't worry about it if you come in a few minutes late. Critical mass is always great to have. So if you have the chance to join, please hop in. Let's see, many of the meetings on Tuesday are with our supporters. So we're gonna start by thanking the legislators for their support. Most of the legislators actually are familiar with our programs, which is they're really just excited to meet any students they can. So we'll start running introductions, and that'll be a staff member. It'll be either me or Bertil or Joe or our lobbyist, Julia. We'll introduce ourselves and we'll ask you to go around. We'll try to name you by what's on your screen so that people aren't talking over each other. And again, the most important thing when you introduce yourself is to say your name and also where you're from and where you go to school. Because this is a New York State program, we are asking people to say where they're from in New York. If you did not grow up in New York, which is totally fine, the program does have students who did not, weren't born and raised in the city or New York. That's totally fine, but we do ask you to maybe just say where you're living now and where you go to school. If for some reason you are a resident and you say you did grow up in New York, but now you're doing your residency in Miami, maybe say, I'm from this area, I'm doing my residency here, hoping to come back. If it's true, you don't have to lie. So, and the way we sort of ask people to say this, we would never ask you to, say anything untrue, but we would say, like, I grew up in New York. So I would say, my name is Jenny Tassler. I'm from Manhattan on the Upper East Side, and I attend the Buffalo Postback program. Someone like Bertil, who grew up in California, might say something like, I'm Bertil Badal. I live in Washington Heights, and I attend CUNY School of Medicine. So maybe just highlight the New York aspects, downplay any others. Of course, if asked, you're always willing to say whatever you need to be forthcoming, but we do try to highlight as much New York pride as we can. All right, hi Joe.
Hi.
So, as I mentioned, the staff will probably give a little bit of an overview of the program. Again, this will be very short. Most of the legislators are familiar with the program. We've met with them earlier this year. If we haven't, they'll sort of give an introduction about the program breadth and what we're looking for. And then we're going to go around and talk to the students. So we're going to ask, usually we say, to share your experience with the program, tell your story. And this is where we really want you to bring yourself to this meeting. The legislators are particularly interested in hearing how this program benefited you. So, typically the students talk about their journey to medical school. We've had students talk about, I worked as an undergrad, and when I took the MCAT, my score was a little low. And, when I got introduced, the offer to come to this program, I wasn't sure, but it really benefited me. I was able to get into medical school. It's been, we hear all kinds of things, and this is your personal story. And we do not want it to be canned or rehearsed or anything like that. The most important thing is that it be your authentic self, and that's what they're really looking for. While we don't want it to feel rehearsed, we do recommend that you think a little bit about what you would like to share with the legislator. It does make things go a little bit easier. Sometimes you can sort of tense up, even in a Zoom meeting when you're not meeting with an elected official. Sometimes it can feel a little scary. So having, a sentence or two about what you would like them to know about you is very useful. And again, you can talk about why you wanted to go to medical school. You can talk about how it is in the program for you, what you gained from it. If you're in residency, you could talk about how it benefited you long-term. If you're a scholarship awardee, we are very interested in highlighting the importance of the scholarship program. So please talk about medical school debt, or how the scholarship has opened possibilities for you going forward. You can talk about what you would like to do after medical school when you're a physician. For those of you who are first years, second years, post-bac students, even third year, maybe not fourth year at this point, but third years, you do not need to come up with a specialty that you are going to be committing to. Nobody's going to hold you to this. Just, we just want to hear about you and your experiences with the program. So at the end of the meeting, one of the AMSNY staff or our lobbyist will tell the legislator what we're asking for. And we typically call this the ask. It's what we are looking for in the state budget to fund the diversity in medicine program and scholarship. This is not something that you will be required to do. You will not have to give a dollar figure, ask them for anything. That's our job. So do not worry about that. If a staffer, sometimes a staffer will sort of interrupt and say something along the lines of, oh, where are you in the budget? Or, how much are you looking for? If that happens while you're speaking, feel free to defer to one of us. That's our job. We will do that. Do not feel like you have to come up with an answer. We will give you some information about what we're looking for, so you're familiar with it, but do not feel like you have to add that in. Yeah. I would say, again, the most important thing in these meetings is to show the legislator that the funds they're allocating in the budget are going to make a difference in the lives of the participants and in the communities across New York by diversifying the physician workforce. That's really the goal here. And I say every year, you know, I know students sometimes get a little nervous about this. You all do an incredible job and just being yourself. So don't worry, it'll be great. Again, it's always a fun and exhilarating thing to do. I often conclude sessions like this in the past by telling people to wear comfortable shoes and pack snacks, but you don't have to do that this year. You don't even have to wear shoes. So that's one benefit to doing this remotely. You may want to have a snack handy or some water, because sometimes if you are joining us for multiple sessions, they can go back to back. But we do ask that you maybe try to wear a white coat if you have one, or something with your school's logo on it. We like to highlight, you know, the programs are across the state. So anything you have that has your program name on it, that would really be helpful. Yeah, and then just general Zoom etiquette. If you're not speaking, please keep your mic on mute, especially if you're outside or somewhere where it might be noisy. Please try to keep your video on if you can, especially if you're talking. Yeah, I think I ran through a lot of information very quickly, but I don't know if Joe, Bertil, you guys want to add anything before questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Joe.
No, I was going to say, Bertil, go ahead.
So as Jenny said, we're basically taking care, AMSNY is taking care of like the stuff that's on the paper, you know, you make it real. So that's what the legislators want, real talk, real experiences. So you definitely blow it up from a 2D kind of thing into a real 3D discussion. And you'll see some of the electeds are very conversational. They'll get into it. They'll ask you questions. And some of them, you'll literally just go around and tell your couple of sentences and that's it. So it varies, you know, in terms of their engagement. And hopefully you'll get some good engagement with them. And I also did want to mention, I think Jenny alluded to this, that we're going to have a mix of people on the call. So you're going to see other post-bac students. You're going to see post-bac alumni who are current medical students. We have residents signed up. So they're already in their medical training. We have some deans of diversity and inclusion joining us on the calls. So they'll provide their perspectives of the importance of diversity in medicine and programs like this. And we also have some of the program directors of the post-bac program signed up. So it's going to be a beautiful mix of perspectives and this push of why these programs are important. So from post-bacs, you know, Danya and Jerlyn, you know, you're going to provide the perspective of a current post-bac student, what it means to you and what it's doing for you. And then we have alumni like Ryan Young here, who can speak on how the program has affected him in terms of where he is today. So that'll be the beauty of the conversation. I think those are the main things I wanted to share with the group.
So first of all, I want to apologize for coming in late. So I did miss some of what Jenny had told you. And really, I think between Jenny and Bertil, they went over everything. It is really, you know, as Jenny said, if we had been in Albany, the interactions between people, you know, give it a sort of a different kind of energy than doing it on Zoom. But the legislators really are very interested, particularly if you're going to be at, and I'm not sure which ones you've signed up for, but Howard Vargas, who is the chief of staff to the president of the assembly. That's not his title, but he's the lead person in my mind, just went blank, in the assembly. He loves seeing students. He loves talking to them. And he will ask you lots of questions. And, you know, just as Jenny said, be yourself. Just be yourself, and he will, you know, he will take to you right away and start asking questions. The other person who's really important, I don't know whether or not you're going to be on the call with Assemblyman Gottfried. Assemblyman Gottfried is the chair of the Assembly Health Committee. He wields a lot of power in terms of who's going to get money and who's not. His legislative aide, Sherry, sees students every year, and every time, like, we go to Jenny or I or Bertil go up to Albany and meet with her, she's like, when are the students coming up? Tell me when the students are coming up. So people really are excited about speaking with you and hearing what your stories are. And so my only word of caution, and I don't know where you're from, but my only word of caution is if they say, are you from New York? Or where are you from? If you're not from New York, say the name of the school that you're at, okay? That's my only word of caution. And actually, one year we went and saw a woman who was a legislator, and she's from the middle of New York. And she asked one of the students, where are you from? And she said, Florida. And I was gonna like just gulp and go, oh no, wrong answer. But it just went right past this woman. She really wasn't that interested. But I just like to give people a heads up on that. Other than that, I think you guys are all going to be terrific. And I really, really appreciate that you're taking time out of your day to do this. I know you guys are all very busy, have a lot of schoolwork, and schoolwork always comes first. Okay, so that if something comes up tomorrow and you're signed up, but you have to go to a class, classes always come first. All right, because the whole purpose of having the programs is to make sure that you do well and you go to medical school and become physicians. So I guess that's really all I have to say. I'm looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow.
So actually, Ryan had a really good question, and I thought he could share it with the group. Ryan, do you want to share your question?
Sure. I just did you want to? It was more of a. Do you want just to kind of stick towards a more of like a path in medicine? My healthcare AI startup had recently won third place in a national competition. I shared the link with you. Essentially, it's a way to lower healthcare costs, but using free market principles. And so I think a lot of hence why I kind of signed up, because I think a lot of legislation might identify with that about like what we're doing. I've met with executives at C-suite executives at Anthem, with a large health insurance company. In addition, tomorrow I got a meeting with the CEO of Blackstone Equity Healthcare, Dr. Robert Galvin. So we've been getting some, as well as Humana, the director of emerging technologies there too. So I don't know what time Howard, because I 11 a.m. I'm not sure what time you're Howard, but I was just thinking in terms of, hey, because this MD MBA is doing something that's potentially going to be helping the state, I wanted to make sure I can try and help maximize kind of based on the results of kind of what we've had. More than happy to do that for you guys. So
that would be great. And we would say, take this time to brag. Please highlight any accomplishments. This is your chance to talk about where you matched, competitions you've won, any contribution you've made. And we will be sending out the whole schedule with all the Zoom links. So if you have the opportunity to jump on another call, please do so. Don't worry about letting us know or anything like that. We'll see you when you join. And we're happy to, go with the flow a little bit and add people in as they can. And absolutely, share what you can about how this program has helped you and what you are doing now. And, I think the legislators want to see that something they invest in pays off. And for every step of the way that you guys are accomplishing, it pays off. So please let them know what you are doing and how you are doing.
Yeah, currently I'm signed up for 11 a.m. to 12, but Howard, though, I think because that might help, or the other one who's on like the state health, that might just, it might help, again, give them a little bit more ammunition about, just since you mentioned they're the generally allies. Now, is there any background, because at the 11 a.m. it's Jen Weintraub, is there any background that you might be able to
Yeah,
provide on that?
actually, you know what? Let me go ahead and share my screen with the schedule.
Excuse me, while Jenny is doing that, Ryan, could you put the link up, because I didn't.
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry. I sent it to Patel, but let me, there's other articles that like Buffalo Business First just did an article on us
Oh, terrific.
like a couple days ago. It's behind a paywall. I can send you a PDF if that is helpful.
That would be great.
Okay, so I'll get that to you.
And again, we'll send this out after the call with the recording to everyone who's signed up to do Lobby Day. And if you see a friend who maybe was thinking about joining, let them know, and we can certainly get them the schedule. You can share it with them. We don't want to share it too widely, but if you think someone is going to join, please let them know what the link is. So we start off in the morning, as Joe mentioned, with Howard Vargas, who is staff. He's the counsel to Speaker Carl Hastie. Assemblymember Hastie is from the Bronx. So if we have any Bronx people in the house, please maybe make a note of that. There's tons of Bronx pride. And again, he is the speaker, which is the top position in the assembly. So he's very influential. He's been a strong supporter of this program. We love to remind him. Howard Vargas has been extremely supportive. He loves meeting with students. So if you do know anyone who's free at 10 and can join, please let them know. At 11 o'clock, we're meeting with the legislative director to Senator Gianaris. He's from Queens, and he's actually very interested in economic development. So I think, Ryan, something like yours, where you're talking about startups and things that could bring anything to New York, is very effective, especially when we're talking about healthcare, diversity. I mean, these are all things that they're interested in. So that's definitely a good thing to do. Interestingly, we have not met with him, and he is also, I believe, the deputy majority leader. So he's also in leadership in the Senate.
Jenny, can you please enlarge your image a bit?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem. Thank you.
Is that good?
Perfect. Thank you.
Great. All right. So at 12 o'clock, we are meeting with Victor Pichardo, who's also from the Bronx. He's been another strong supporter. He's a wonderful, affable guy. I hope we have him on the meeting in particular. He's just he's a great meeting. I will say that. He's a lot of fun. Again, he will probably know, if you are from the Bronx, be prepared to give him your street address. I've seen him call people out, and he knows the geography very well. 1 o'clock, we are meeting with staff to Senator Gustavo Rivera. This is a staffer we have met with before. She actually transitioned recently into this role, and we've met with her in both capacities. Senator Rivera is the chair of the Health Committee in the Senate. So again, somebody who's very influential, very effective in procuring funding for us when we've needed to. He is also from the Bronx. So again, Bronx in the house, just always good to hear, but his staffer is Albany based. And then at 2 o'clock, as Joe mentioned, we're meeting with Assemblymember Gottfried, who is from New York. I believe his district covers most of Manhattan. But again, he is the Assembly chair of the Health Committee. So very influential. I believe the meeting is with staff. Sherry is his staffer, who we've met with a number of times and does love meeting with students. So she's a wonderful person to talk to. Last year, the assembly member did join us for the meeting. I think she said she was trying to get him to join this year as well, because he does love meeting students as well. So hopefully he'll join. And then at 3:30, we're meeting with Josh Korn, who is the legislative director for Senator Liz Krueger. Senator Krueger's district is in Manhattan. She actually covers the Upper East Side, but she is the chair of the Finance Committee, which is another very important committee when it comes to the budget process. She basically runs that section. So another person who's very interested, we've met with Josh a few times. He's a great guy. I don't know if the senator will be joining us for this one, but again, a meeting where, you know, sharing the first impressions. I don't know if we've met with students with Josh before. So, you know, being able to share that perspective, I think will be really great for him. And then at 4:15, we're meeting with Pamela Hunter, who's from Syracuse. And this year, so in prior years, Assemblymember Blake from the Bronx had been our sort of champion in the assembly. He was really outspoken, really drove the legislature to fund these programs. He ran for Congress last year and is no longer in the assembly. So Pamela Hunter has picked up that mantle. She drafted a letter that was circulated on our behalf. She's been very outspoken about our program. And so a lot of this will be thanking her and, you know, showing her who's in the program right now and sort of encouraging her to support us even further. So yeah, and that will be the day. I think we'll hopefully wrap up by 5. Sometimes the meetings run a little long. Sometimes they get started a little later. You know, as I mentioned before, if you jump on a little late, that's fine. If you need to duck off a little early, that's fine. We understand, and I think everybody else does. So the most important thing is, you know, being able to show up when you can and share your experience. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, how long do we have to speak for, like time frame?
I would budget a couple of minutes. I mean, again, in a half-hour meeting, depending on how many students we have, we try to give everybody a chance to speak. So, you know, obviously in a bigger meeting, I would err on the very short side. You know, I think being able to be a little bit flexible with your story. You know, I know we sometimes say to think about what you want to say and maybe think about where you would keep a little extra and where you might be able to cut back. And sometimes if you do a couple of meetings with us, that will get a little easier. Unfortunately, on a day like this year, we're not going to have as much time to, you know, get in the groove of, you know, the sort of dance we do sometimes at meetings where we throw it to different people. But I wouldn't worry about that. Just try to get as much in as you can. Don't worry about leaving everything in or everything out. Just share something. Think about at least one thing you would like them to know about you and why it's important to fund this program.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join yet another Zoom meeting, or to join us later if you're watching this recorded. Please feel free to email myself, Bertil, Joe, if you have any questions about the day. Again, we'll send out the link to the recording, the talking points. Again, you do not have to memorize the talking points. They're for your reference only. They're what we're asking for. And a link to the full schedule with all the Zoom links. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.